Fly Me to the Moon is directed by Greg Berlanti, and it's essentially about the last 200-ish days of the space race between the Soviet Union and the US. And while NASA are working tirelessly and are counting down the days to their big launch, they have lost a bit of face in the public image, and they are in need of a marketing manager who is played by Scarlett Johansson, and she plays the character Callie Jones, who comes in to pretty much reinvigorate some life back into the brand of NASA. I didn't realize from the trailer, but this movie has a pretty star-studded cast as well. We've got Scarlett Johansson, of course, but also Channing Tatum, who plays Cole Davis, who's the launch director on the Apollo 11 mission. We've also got Woody Harrelson playing this shady US agent who was pretty funny throughout the movie and has this interesting dynamic with Scarlett Johansson's character. And then there's Ray Romano as well in the movie. Come on. Everybody loves Raymond. Probably my biggest takeaway from this movie, and definitely my favorite part, is how it commentates on brands injecting themselves into historical events to profit off pushing political ideologies and agendas. Probably the biggest culprit of this, and definitely the most famous brand back in 1969 to work with NASA to draw more attention and eyes to the space race, is Omega and the Speedmaster Moonwatch. Because wouldn't it be cool if you too could wear the first watch worn by the first astronaut to step foot on the moon for the first time? And I love how the movie comments on it, because this shit still happens today. Just as a little side rant, there's a watch in the movie Interstellar that was so popular, people wanted a version of it that they could buy, and the brand Hamilton that made the watch for the movie, it took them 2 years to make a production line version of it to respond to the public outpouring of love for the watch, and now that watch makes them lots of profit because people buy it. And it's just interesting to see how brands inject themselves into historical events or movies or sport or whatever it is, and they can profit off that. And yep, I'm a sucker. I bought that watch and I'm wearing it right now. To be fair though, look how cool this shit is. Anyway, rant over. Let's get back to the movie. Another thing that's really awesome about this movie is the way they kind of expose how the media portrays a true story to the public. Like, for instance, they hire actors to portray the real people at NASA working on this project, to do interviews as them and tell their story and keep that American dream alive. Stories told to the media are also twisted in a way to invoke sympathy from the American public. Quotes are edited and rewritten to be a lot more palatable, and statistics are rounded up just for the fuck of it, because it sounds better. So we get this really interesting glimpse behind the curtain of how marketing and the media were involved in drawing more eyes towards the space race and NASA. This movie is also marketed as a romantic comedy, and I think it does really well in the comedic department. Like, there's some really funny moments. There's an ongoing joke throughout the movie involving a black cat. There's some really funny characters as well, and one dude in particular who is hilarious throughout the movie, who's a friend of Scarlett Johansson's character. But they definitely fall short in the romantic department here, and there's this evolving romance between the two main characters, but they don't really develop it super well in the beginning of the movie. So later on, when you're having these really tough moments between them, you don't care that much, I think. And that's where it falls a little bit flat and doesn't stick the landing. No pun intended there. I think if they just totally scrapped the whole romantic side of this movie and focused a little bit more on the drama, it would have elevated the whole experience more. Like, for instance, there's this kind of tragic backstory that happens with Channing Tatum's character, and I feel like they try to do this balancing act between wanting the audience to care about Cole Davis, but also be really involved in this romance that's happening between him and Callie Jones. But the two sides feel like they're playing tug of war with each other, so you don't really care about either one, and it just is a little bit annoying. In the end, I'm glad I watched Fly Me to the Moon. All in all, it was a fun time, and it looked fun from the trailer, and that's just what I got out of it. But at the same time, I don't think this is a movie that I would revisit. The last thing I'll say on this movie is it taught me that black cats aren't all bad luck.